Hey, it's Eric G. Around the House is sponsored by Baldwin Hardware. For 75 years, Baldwin Hardware has been known for its first-class quality and craftsmanship in door and cabinetry hardware. As an alumnus of the Baldwin Hardware Design Council, I can say I have seen the details and quality from design to the finished product. If you're looking for a new style and old-world craftsmanship, I can tell you there is only one Baldwin Hardware. Check out what would look great in your home at baldwinhardware.com.
It's Around the House.
And that's why we look for partners out here like the folks at Electric Generators Direct or Power Equipment Direct. They make all of this stuff pretty simple. They offer everything from the top branded generators to the Gentents to the transfer switches. They have an incredibly knowledgeable staff who's accessible by phone. Like the Gentent folks, you can pick up a phone and call us. You can call the folks over at Electric Generators Direct or Power Equipment Direct. And we're partnering with them this hurricane season, at their start of hurricane season, to be able to give away a very large prize package for Westinghouse WGen 12,000 dual fuel generator, the Gentent XL kit that fits that model, and some of the accessories and added on bonus stuff for that. And then we're also giving away a number of Gentents for some second prize winners. And
when it comes to remodeling and renovating your home, there is a lot to know, but we've got you covered. This is Around the House.
Welcome to the Around the House show, the next generation of home improvement. We are smack dab in the beginning of summer, and that means one thing across the United States. It's storm season, and it could be wildfires on the West Coast. It could be hurricanes on the East Coast. But no matter what, are you prepared for that? And we've got my friend Brian Thomas from Gentent here to talk about generator safety. And we got some fun, exciting news for everyone. Brian, welcome to Around the House, brother.
well, thanks for having me, Eric. I appreciate it.
This is going to be a lot of fun. We got a lot going on right here, which I love with this. And you guys have really brought awareness to generator safety out there with what you guys have going on, because it's a game changer what Gentent has done out there, because so many of us have had these problems with sticking that generator outside during inclement weather. And you either have to make a choice of how am I going to cover it up and how am I going to safely cover it up so I don't get hurt or ruin my generator.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. And we at Gentent make a portable generator tent, a running cover solution. And with that, it allows you to keep the generator outside away from your house, fully protected from that inclement weather. But that's really the basis of generator safety, right? So starting with the basics of generator safety, one of the most important new features that you see on all the portable generators is the carbon monoxide sensors. So the PGMA G300 sensor or the UL 2201 sensor that enable the CO detection and allow the generator shut off if it has a large amount of CO around it and build up. So understanding what that takes to shut that off is also understanding safe placement. So one of the areas that we at Gentent like to emphasize is the reason that we make a portable generator tent is so you can keep it outside and safely away from your house. The most recent guidance is 20 feet away from any opening into your home.
And that's a fair distance. It's farther than what many people think. But they stick it outside the garage door and maybe run a cord through the open garage or into their panel or whatever they're doing. I think everybody was running like a 10-foot cord, right? And then the bad part is they direct that exhaust away from it, and it can easily get inside that attached garage, and now we're getting problems.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And a lot of the language and the product-based solutions that are coming out there is gearing towards that 20-foot distance or enabling a longer than 20-foot cord, not only for the risk of carbon monoxide, but also fire risk. People will put it underneath their deck or under the eave of their home because they know they're supposed to run it outside, and they end up causing a house fire or light their deck on fire, or they're using a piece of plywood or something else to cover up their generator, and it causes a bigger problem.
Yeah, that's a huge mess right there. And I can't tell you how many times I see we have a lot of carports in our area here with some older homes and stuff, and they're running underneath the carport, but it's the carport's next to the garage and it's attached to it, right? And that's just pathways inside is what that ends up being.
Yeah, absolutely. So carbon monoxide is obviously, it's odorless, it's an invisible gas. It builds up in minutes. Most of these portable generators, they're made to produce a ton of energy in a very short amount of period of time. And so with that, they also produce a ton of emissions. So most portable generators are emitting hundreds of times the amount of carbon monoxide that a vehicle does. And so if you think about that in context of your home, putting it close to your home or near an opening or even inside that 20 feet, you run the risk of CO poisoning, if not a fatality, pretty quickly. It can build up very fast. So another important element is to make sure that you have CO detectors in your home and you have
good
them.
ones.
Absolutely. Yeah. And close. They make some really, really great ones now. We work with a number of folks that have some, even the smart home ones, the Amazon, Alexa, and Google Home enabled ones that just push notify you if there's an issue. But there's a ton of them out there. And the main thing is to make sure those are UL certified as well.
Yeah, there's really no level of CO that is healthy for you. So you want to make sure that those things are working properly and that they're maintained as well. Because if you've had them in your house for so many years, there's an expiration date on many of them. So make sure that when you're checking the batteries or checking those things that you're following that, because I've seen some that were just out of date, need to be replaced. And it's a good time to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's one of those areas that we try to emphasize in our generator safety checklist. And that's one of the toolkit pieces that we're pushing out with this campaign that we're running with Power Equipment Direct as well. It is really focusing on some of those items that you can prepare with, as well as some of those things you can check the box and feel that peace of mind. So when you do lose power, it's not, okay, now what do I do? Where did I put that? Or any issues like that. So certainly checking the batteries on your CO detectors is a big one. The proper length cables, like we discussed, but also in terms of what we offer, having that properly rated generator protection is important for us also. So one of the great features with the Gentent products is that we have an NFPA rated canopy material. So it's all flame retardant. All of our components that we mount to the generator are all flame retardant rated. And so that really gives you peace of mind to be able to put your generator outside away from your home and know that if something goes wrong, everything's going to be protected with the top rated materials.
Yeah, you think about it, those portable generators, you've got so many things that are dangerous there. You've got heat, you've got gasoline, you've got many times it's raining outside. So you've got water and electricity. It's the four horsemen here of danger, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a lot of potential risky hazards. And what you find in a lot of the generator manuals is a list of things not to do. Don't run it indoors. Don't run it close inside to your house. Take it outside, which is the brand messaging that Portable Generator Manufacturers Association is perpetuating with their educational tools. And it's important messaging, but give us a list of what to do. So how do I safely protect my generator when I'm running it outside in the rain? Because that's another one of the don'ts. Don't run it when it's raining, when it's snowing. And that's because of the risk of shock. How do I get it to that 20 feet or more? Enable that with that properly rated, outdoor rated cable to be able to get that to that safe distance. And with that, have a transfer switch, have the properly rated setup for your home so you're not backfeeding into the grid or running the risk of injuring alignment on the line.
Yeah, you don't need to be trying to power your neighbor's house on the same transformer and stuff like that. It's just a bad idea. And as soon as the first person, like you said, comes over to start working on it, you've now created a lot more danger. So that generator transfer switch is so safe because one, it's not that expensive out there. And two, if you put it in there correctly, have it done by a licensed electrician, and it's done, you're powering the circuits that you want to power, and the ones that you don't need. And it really helps you do that in a safe manner, because I can't tell you how many people I've seen on social media out there making suicide plugs and everything else out there trying to backfeed into their system, and they have no idea what they're doing. And the first person to trip and pull a plug out of an outlet or something, you've got a massive danger on your hands.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we look for partners out here like the folks at Electric Generators Direct or Power Equipment Direct. They make all of this stuff pretty simple. They offer everything from the top branded generators to the Gentents to the transfer switches. They have an incredibly knowledgeable staff who's accessible by phone. Like the Gentent folks, you can pick up a phone and call us. You can call the folks over at Electric Generators Direct or Power Equipment Direct. And we're partnering with them this hurricane season, their start of hurricane season, to be able to give away a very large prize package for Westinghouse WGen 12,000 dual fuel generator, the Gentent XL kit that fits that model, and some of the accessories and added on bonus stuff for that. And then we're also giving away a number of Gentents for some second prize winners and some t-shirts and swag for some follow-up winners as well.
Don't change that dial. Around the House, we'll be right back with Brian Thomas from Gentent just as soon as we return. Don't go anywhere. It's Around the House Show's largest giveaway yet. We have teamed up with Power Equipment Direct and Gentent to give away the latest in generator safety technology. The grand prize is a Westinghouse 15,000 watt electric start portable generator with a Gentent XL Extreme NFPA rated generator tent. There will also be 3 second prize winners that will win a Gentent safety canopy, and 4 third place winners win a Gentent signature t-shirt. Head to aroundthehouseonline.com for a link to the contest so you can answer the 7 quick safety questions to win. Contest runs from June 1st, 2024 to July 3rd, 2024. See the link for all the contest rules and conditions at aroundthehouseonline.com.
What's up? This is Sticks Adenia.
And Satchel from Steel Panther. And you are listening to
Around the House with Eric G.
Yeah.
We love Eric G, and you should too.
1987, I never want to leave you.
Welcome back to the Around the House Show. If you want to find out more information about us, head over to aroundthehouseonline.com. Now, let's get back to our conversation with Brian Thomas from Gentent about this amazing contest we're putting together.
And folks, you can pick up a phone and call us. You can call the folks over at Electric Generators Direct or Power Equipment Direct. And we're partnering with them this hurricane season, at their start of hurricane season, to be able to give away a very large prize package for Westinghouse WGen 12,000 dual fuel generator, the Gentent XL kit that fits that model, and some of the accessories and added on bonus stuff for that. And then we're also giving away a number of Gentents for some second prize winners and some t-shirts and swag for some follow-up winners as well.
All right. So now that we've let the cat out of the bag, how do people do this, right? Because everybody's going, I need that for hurricane season. I need that for wildfire season.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can pop right onto gentent.com/giveaway. Or over to Power Equipment Direct. They're going to link directly to the contest giveaway themselves. Super easy entry. There's no purchase necessary or anything like that. You just fill in your regular information, and then you answer a few quick questions for us, and it navigates you through some of this generator safety discussion and asks you questions about portable generators. Now, you have the answers to the test if you've listened to the podcast, but otherwise, it'll potentially test you in some of the other generator safety questions.
Nice. And I'll also be putting the link up there on the aroundthehouseonline.com page for us here. So if anybody's driving in their car right now, don't get in a wreck trying to write this down. Just go over to the regular website. I'll get you over there too. So that way you guys can have a chance to win, because this is such an amazing prize. And you guys have been working on this program for a while. And it's finally nice to let this one out of the bag, let people know what's going on, and win an amazing prize to get you through a storm.
Yeah, absolutely. So the folks over at Power Equipment Direct have been super great to work with. We've been partnering with them on the Gentent product line for years. And we also have a partnership with the Westinghouse folks. We know what kind of quality product they put out. So we're really excited at the prize offering that Power Equipment Direct put together with their generator offering, and happy to add to it and complement it with some safe, effective coverings for it so people can get it outside and run it outside and safely and effectively in any weather.
Yeah, that is great. And Brian, you guys have been so fun to work with, and same with the guys with Power Equipment Direct, Electric Generator Direct. Those guys are both just amazing over there, and they've been on this show a lot. And this is your at least second time coming on here, and I do appreciate everything that you guys are doing out there, because this awareness is huge for people out there. And there's so many just little basic things that if you go, oh, I can't do that, now you're going to be safe. Even though every year, every time we have storms here in my neighborhood here, just in the metro area here, every year I'm seeing stuff where people are walking by an apartment and there's a generator running inside the apartment. And it's just like, how is this happening? So this awareness is really big for people to realize and tell your friends about this, because this is something that can really save a life.
Yeah, no, agree 100% and really appreciate the platform. For us, we've spent the last few years really trying to emphasize our safety awareness and advocacy beyond just the product side of things, because it does happen way too often. Certainly, carbon monoxide is the most prevalent danger with portable generators, but understanding why people make those risky decisions with carbon monoxide it's typically tied to wet weather or inclement weather, and not understanding that they can't see or smell carbon monoxide and how quickly it builds up and how much these portable generators output is really the significant difference. It's that education piece. So empower yourself, get these generators outside safely, effectively away from your home, mitigate all the fire risks, the electrocution, shock risks. If you have any questions along that, we make ourselves super accessible to answer questions for folks, whether it's with our product or otherwise. I know the folks at Power Equipment Direct are, subject matter experts with everything generators. They'll be able to jump in and help as well.
And guys, I can tell you what, this Gentent product is so easy to install. I put one on mine. Super easy to do. This is not something that is rocket science. This is easier than setting up your tent for camping next weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. We try to make it simple. We call it our 3-step process. Depending on the generator, there may be a little bit of adjustment here or there, but it's pretty easy. You strap it or clamp it right to your frame. You build out your frame from there and the tent goes right over it. These guys are rated for up to 70 mile an hour forecast winds, 18-inch snow load or 12 inches of rain an hour. So they're pretty substantial little tents as well.
Brian, did we miss anything today? I think we've covered everything we were going to cover.
I think we got it. So just gentent.com/giveaway. Or you can pop over to Electric Generators Direct and Power Equipment Direct and get entry that way as well.
Perfect. Brian, thanks for coming on today, man. I appreciate all you guys are doing with Gentent. And of course, our friends over at Power Equipment Direct or Electric Generator Direct, they've been great partners as well. And guys, you better enter. Otherwise, you're not going to win.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have until it starts June 1st and it runs to July 3rd. So right before the holiday.
I'm so excited to be working with these guys here with Brian Thomas from Gentent. Of course, our friends over at Power Equipment Direct, Electric Generator Direct on this amazing giveaway valued at $4,000. This is pretty cool. So basically what you do is you enter to win, and you have to take a little quiz to get there, but enter to win a Westinghouse dual fuel generator, and has the Gentent with it, 15,000 watts of power. Either runs on LP fuel or gasoline, has an integrated CO sensor and shutoff. This is a killer deal. And it is the biggest giveaway we've ever done here at Around the House show. So special thanks to those guys. This is something we've been talking about for months, and I'm so happy that we could actually all get together and make this happen. So we're going to be really pushing this thing for you guys because, it doesn't matter if you're in a hurricane or potential hurricane, or you've got wildfires or whatever else, even windstorms. That generator is part of being prepared. And that's what we're going to talk about here for the rest of the show, is some of the things that you can do to be ready for a natural disaster. And some of these things are common, actually. They're things that you should have sitting around the house to be ready to go. And one of the things that always gets forgotten is a good-sized tarp. We're going to talk about all the other basic stuff, but this is one of those things that people just absolutely forget. Because here's the thing. If you had a roof blow off, or you had a tree hit the house, or you had some kind of damage, that tarp can help keep Mother Nature at bay until you can get somebody out there to repair it, or you can get the materials to do so. Because, that's the thing. If you have a hurricane or a big wind event, it could be a tornado, it could be whatever, just a big windstorm. That is what happens, is that you'll have hundreds or thousands of homes in your area, and the materials won't be there. The contractors won't be there. You run down to your home improvement store and they've got trucks waiting to pick materials up that don't exist. So having that tarp can buy you a little bit of time. Now, here's the thing. When you're looking at tarps and you're trying to get something that's going to last for you, I would get something that's at least 9 mil thick or thicker. So 9, 12, 16, but 9 is good enough. 9 will do just about anything you want it to. And that'll get you something that's going to be really sturdy, that'll help protect your house. Round the House, we'll be right back. We're going to talk about storm prep tips, whether it's a firestorm or a windstorm or a hurricane, just as soon as we return. Don't go anywhere.
Hey, this is Ron Keel, the Metal Cowboy from Keel, the Ron Keel Band and Steeler. We are rocking Around the House with Eric G.
Raise your fist! Welcome back to the Around the House show, the next generation of home improvement. I'm Eric G. Thanks for joining me today. If you're just tuning in, you missed our big announcement with Brian Thomas from Gentent, and of course our friends with Power Equipment Direct and Electric Generators Direct about this amazing giveaway that is going between June 1st, 2024 and July 3rd, 2024. And find out more information about that, head over to aroundthehouseonline.com. And I'm just going to have a link over there that'll take you right there. So if you just head there, you won't have to worry about the rest. So just go to aroundthehouseonline.com, and I'm going to have a cool link right there for it on the front page of the show. So that way you can find it. We'll make it super easy. There'll be a button right there that you can snag. It'll take you right there where you can answer that quiz. It's a safety quiz on generators, and we'll give you that hint right there. And it's a $4,000 plus prize brought from those guys. So really cool stuff. And we're talking today here in the last half of the show about making sure that you're prepared for natural disasters. It could be a wildfire on the West Coast. It could be a hurricane in the South or the East Coast. Those things can happen anywhere. Heck, we've gotten hurricanes down in California, so these things do happen. But really what you want to do is to be prepared. Doesn't matter if it's an earthquake or whatever it is, tornado, a lot of these same rules apply. So we were just talking at the end of this last segment here about having some good quality tarps, at least one that you can use to make sure that you keep the weather off any damage, or if it's even worse, that you can create some kind of a lean-to and keep the weather off of you until help arrives. Now, that's the thing that I really want to talk about, because it can take, for large natural disasters, it can take a week or two before everyone is mobilized there, especially when you're seeing something like a hurricane. Sometimes it's hard to get in there. Earthquakes, it happens so quick, there's no time for planning. There's no way to spool up, and it can take a while to get there. So the first thing I want to do is make sure that you've got food and water for you and your family and your pets. Don't forget your pets. If you got livestock, that too. But really making sure that you've got food. Now, one of my favorite things is to having food is I just went down and got Mountain House. They're a great company. That food will last 30 years, 20 plus years. I think they still don't know because it's still that good. And you're going to eat well, and it just fits in a box. You can put it away, and you can put it away in a safe spot so you can get it, and you'll be in a good spot. So if you have food for your family for a couple weeks, you're going to be okay. But here's the other part of that. If you've got freeze-dried food, you need to have a heat source to be able to boil water, and of course to be able to have the water to do that. So it's water intensive. So you need to be able to have water in that. Now, if you've got a water heater, that's not a bad thing. That'll help you. That could have 40 to 80 gallons of water right there. But you know something? You really need to make sure that you've planned ahead for that. If you've got rivers, lakes, streams, and stuff around, you probably have water you can pull out of there, but you have a way to get it clean. Always assume that it's contaminated. So what do you have for water? Now, you can store water, but you just have to be careful that you have good water that at least you can get clean later. So no matter what you've got right there, unless you're just going through bottles of water and you're rotating them through and you've got a lot of plastic that way, I would just make sure that you've got one, water filtration for nasty water, and two, a way to store it so you've got it, or local water sources. Now, if you've got an earthquake or something, be careful, because all of a sudden you could have landslides that stop water. You could have a lake that's dry. There's so many things that can happen with that. So unless you've got 2 or 3 different water sources around you, I'd be very careful, because you could have some serious problems right there. So make sure that you've got that water location there, and then just plan ahead. Now, one of the things that I always say is if you're coming into a storm, now, I want to make sure that your water system in your house doesn't get contaminated. So I think it's always smart when you've got a hurricane or anything like that going on, that maybe you protect that water heater, so it's clean water in there before the storm. Because what can happen is you can have water, you can get wells that get flooded. There are so many different things that can happen that can contaminate the water supply. But before that storm, if you just turn the water off to it, turn the heat off of it, let it be what it is, and make sure that the water supply does not get contaminated until afterwards, then you know something? You've got clean water right there. And you're going to start out with something better. Now, of course, If you need water and that's all you got and you're going to filter it, it's not that big a deal. That's just one other thing to think about when you're doing this. So you need to have that fuel. You need to have the water. You need to have the food. There's some big ones there. Next up is medication, making sure you've got all that for you and your family for at least a couple weeks. Now, if you've got stuff that needs to be refrigerated, that's another issue. You need to keep in mind of that. And then next up, start working on, do you have backup power? Do you have ways to keep power going so you can charge phones? Do you run around with your cars mostly fueled up? These are some things that you can really do to prevent during a disaster of not being stuck in a bad position, because you can charge your phone up in your car while it's running. You can warm yourself in the car. But if you're always running around on that last quarter tank, which I don't blame you, gas is expensive, guys. It's just what it is. But if you can afford to run that towards the full side and just keep it there, you're going to be much better off. And in case you need that fuel, you've got it there. If you've got a gas generator, do you have enough gas for that? Can you pull out of your vehicle for that? Can you siphon out of that? Do you have a way to pump that out and put it in? Because that can be additional storage. So there's a lot of different things to think about here in just the basics of being prepared. Now, the other thing that I want you to think about as well is, what's the situation around you for security? Because here's the thing, and this is a serious concern for many people out there. If you're in a higher crime area and you're one of the only people that has a generator, food, and water, your neighbors and friends might come over and knock it, and this could put you into a bad situation because people get desperate. It's not a good deal. So you need to have a little bit extra, and that way you've got a little bit more than what you need. Now, after a few days, when help start rolling in and that kind of thing, it's not that big a deal. But just be careful, got your security, come up with your plan. Don't tell everybody that you're prepared. That way they're not going to come knocking on your door, because it's like when you're on the airplane, guys. When you're on that airplane, they say, hey, you got to put the mask on yourself and then help the other people around you. So you want to make sure that you're dialed in first, and then you can start to help those people around. Now, if you've got a fireplace that is heat because it's cool outside, or you're trying to keep warm in the wintertime, maybe it's from a windstorm or whatever, have that backup fuel. So that way you've got a couple different ways that you could heat water, boil it. If you've got a little propane gas heater, do you have enough propane? Do you have a barbecue? Do you have a fireplace? All these things start to add up where you can have multiple ways to make sure that you've got ways to heat that water. And there's a lot you can do with that. So just think about that. There's a lot of things you can do to keep that going. And maybe outside is not one of them. And that's something to think about. Now, if you've got natural gas, that could be working. If you've had houses down the street that were destroyed, that could be a leak. So don't always plan on the natural gas to be there. That could be a luxury, but it might not be there the entire time. Now, the other thing to really think about here too, and this is a good one as well, is just make sure that you have a solid game plan for you and your family. If you were to have an earthquake or some sudden natural disaster, do you guys have a meeting place? While you're at work, if you, your partner, spouse, kids, whatever this is, whatever your family household is, do you have a game plan? What happens during the day? What happens at night? Where do you meet up? Where is that mutual place that we all go to make sure? Now, you could be on one side of town. You could be on a bad spot. These are some of those things you need to be really careful with. Now, for you people out there with wildfires like we do here, we're much more likely to have a wildfire situation or a high windstorm, but we know the windstorms come in days in advance, much like a hurricane. But wildfires can creep up, and all of a sudden you can get that going in the summertime out here in the West Coast, and we've got a problem. So some of the things that you want to do there is, one, make sure that you've got some good dust masks, because that smoke can be really horrible. It's not going to stop it, but if you're in an outside area and you need to get around, those dust masks can be good. You want to get something, bandanas, no, that stuff doesn't work really well. But if you've got a N95 mask or something like that, it will help you with a little bit of that smoky air, but it's not going to be like a respirator or something like that that's going to get that low quality air is low quality air, and you're going to have to get into a safer spot. We come back, we got more. We'll wrap up Around the House show. Don't change that dial. to the Around the House Show. I'm Eric G., the next generation of home improvement. Thanks for joining me today. We've been talking about, of course, our big generator giveaway, which is going to be awesome here. And to find out more information about that, head over to aroundthehouseonline.com and you can find the link. If you're listening to this in an old show, sorry, you might have gone out there and this could be expired at this point, but this is from June 1st, 2024 to July 3rd, 2024. And the information and all the rules and stuff are going to be over there. You can find the link at aroundthehouseonline.com. We've been talking about just getting prepared here in the last part of the show for natural disasters and all that kind of stuff. And I wanted to talk about this for a minute because I think it's really important, especially as we remodel our homes, is to make sure that we are following rules that make our homes more resilient to natural disasters. There are so many things that you can do now to really give your house a standing chance outside of building code, because building code's great, don't get me wrong. It has its place for life safety, health, and welfare in your health, really, but there's things you can do beyond that to make it more sustainable in case we had one of these emergencies. For instance, you look at the new products out there, from the Zip system to Georgia Pacific has a new system here. So you've got these plywoods or OSB basically that have a waterproof membrane on them. So if your roof was to blow off, you still have something fairly waterproof underneath it. So this is really good when you're talking about those kind of things, because guess what? That's an extra layer of protection. So what if the roof blew off? Okay, you lost a bunch of shingles. You're not going to have the water damage inside because most of that's not going to go through there. So that's the cool part. So there's a lot of different things you can do that'll make your house go a little bit longer in this type of situation. If you're in a hurricane area, do you have storm shutters to put on there? Do you have the hurricane shutters? Have you done the windows on that side where stuff comes in from the coast and basically all around your house? Do you have the impact resistant windows? How about garage doors? What's your garage door rated at? Is it rated for heavy duty winds? Do you have good locks on your doors? You know, all these things matter. If you've got an older house, do you have hurricane clips that hold the trusses or roof framing onto the sidewalls? Is your house bolted down to the foundation? You see where I'm going with these? These are all great things that as you're remodeling, as you're building, as you're changing stuff, you can go through. I love my place here because it was built in 77 and they went through and put those straps on back then. So this is something that you can find even in older houses where they've gone through and tied these things off at least to make sure that you have that strength. But the latest technology stuff out there really makes it smart where you can reduce that secondary damage after the storm. I'll tell this story here. I was in a windstorm in Eastern Washington. I was going to college, living with a roommate. And this is the first time I was in a building that I went, this might not work. I was in a second floor apartment complex and we had 100-mile-an-hour winds come through there in this windstorm that was hurricane strength. I have never seen drywall, half-inch drywall, diagonally break across the living room as I watched it, and the building racked. And I could watch the drywall break diagonally across it. And it had ripped off a lot of the roofing out in the parking lot of the car ports and where all the vehicles were parked out there. We had some covered carports. We had some areas. There was 12 inches of roofing materials out there. And it had ripped off a lot of the plywood off the roof. It had taken off. Most of the metal siding was just coming off. And it was so dangerous because you had this metal siding that was just getting blown off the side and it was whipping around and flying around like Ginsu knives. It was pretty crazy. But these are the things that can happen. And that was a pretty well-built building. It was built probably in the mid-70s, so it was built pretty solid. But it was all those things coming off of it and all the debris that caused to be the problems. And that was not anywhere near hurricane country. That was just a winter January windstorm that came through and just absolutely destroyed stuff. There were mobile homes that had blown over. There were homes and trees, and it was just a hot mess. It took weeks for cleanup. But these are things that I learned a lot of going, wow, okay, that building almost blew over just because it broke the sheetrock. And all of a sudden I could realize that, hey, we've got some shear issues. It's pushing the building around, and I was on the second floor, which wasn't a good place to be. So it's just amazing how these things can really happen to anybody in any place. So no matter where you're at out there, there's a be prepared for everybody so you know what you're in for, so you can be prepared if something like this was to ever happen. Best thing is nothing does. But I tell you what, with the storms and stuff we're having out there, it's going to happen one of these days. And I hopefully, for your sake, that you're ready for it. And hopefully we can give you some great information to do that. Now, one of the other things I want to talk about here that's I think is important as well is if you've got a neighborhood. Now, this is something that I've seen here in like the city of Portland around me. They have certain parks where they built these community centers there that have communication. They've got food storage. They've got some stuff there for emergencies where they're put away, and there's people that actually run these things. And so they've got radio devices for communicating. They've got other stuff all ready to go there. So see what you have around your area. There could already be a very solid plan, and neighborhood groups are good. If you've got a neighborhood association, a condo owners association, if you've got a county organization, those are great resources there for you to make sure that you've got all the right information, you know what to do for your general area. Because you just never know whether it's a wildfire that can go miles in minutes, how fast that stuff can go when the winds are whipping. If it's a hurricane, we see that on the news. We see it happen every year. And it's something that's hitting new places like Southern California this last year. And then, of course, we get all the floods and all the damage that goes with that. So these are things that are good. And if you're in an area like that where you've got a hurricane, do you have sump pumps that protect your house? Do you have a crawl space or basement? Most houses, when you get down to the south, in many of these hurricane-prone areas, they're just slab on grade. But do you have things for cleanup? Do you have the stuff needed to keep that going? And other thing I want to talk about is, do you have building materials? You don't have to have a huge stack of it, but sometimes having in the corner of the garage a few sheets of plywood, some tar paper, some nails, and just having some basic materials can really help you out for temporary stuff. If you know that your garage door isn't rated, right? You're like, I can't afford right now to go spend $15,000 on a big garage door. But you know something? If you've got a hurricane coming, maybe it's smart to build up a temporary wall in front of that thing with some plywood, some 2x4s, screw it into the siding and go back and paint that up and nobody will know any different. Or into the trim where you can do that as well and replace some trim. But get that fastened up to give your house a fighting chance. Follow the groups in your area on social media. Maybe it's your local fire district or your fire department or the emergency preparedness district. There's 8 different names out there for them, but make sure that you're following them and take part in their events. They will have preparedness events. Cruise down there, take some time, figure out what their plan is. We had a thing going around here a few years ago that was really cool, where neighborhoods, people were going around and creating those preparedness groups. And it was just groups of people getting together, everybody in the neighborhood, talking it through, who's got what, and just come up with a plan. So it's not so big a pull for people that always got together. They always had a barbecue each year and get to know your neighbors a little bit. It can be smart to do that, and it can really reduce your risk. And if a bunch of you can stick together and you're all prepared together, it's going to lighten the load a little bit, especially if one of the people's house is damaged, you can help out. And speaking of that, making sure that your power tool batteries are always charged, making sure that's ready to go. If you've got a chainsaw that's battery, do you have the battery charge for that? Do you have 2-cycle oil for your gas chainsaw or your generator? Do you have gasoline for that? So you can go around and help people out if they need it. If you've got a tree blocking a road, you go over and clear that without getting into power lines. If the power lines are involved, guess what? You got to let the electrical people get in there and do that. That's what the public utility people are, or your utility company. That's what their job to do. But if there's little things you can do around your neighborhood to be just a good human, that makes for a much safer place for everybody, and you can help each other out. So think about these things. There's a lot you can do to get prepared, and there's so many things out there to do to be prepared, because it's going to make you more comfortable in case you need it. And if not, you got extra food for 30 years. You got water stored. You've got things there. It's not really costing that much to deal with it. If you want to find out more about us here at Around the House, head over to aroundthehouseonline.com. Make sure you follow us on social media. If you're listening to us on the radio, thanks for tuning in. But you can always check the podcast as well. We've got more content. If you're a radio show listener, head over to Around the House Online and just go up to the top of ATH podcast right there. And you can hear our midweek special. All right, everybody. Hey, if you have home improvement questions, give me a call at 833-239-4144. We've had a lot of interviews recently, and we've been talking to a lot of cool people. But if you do have those home improvement questions, 833-239-4144 for more Around the House show. I'm Eric G, and you've been listening to Around the House.
Beyond the mean. Life is a love song, let's be lovers. We're all over the radio. Take my hand, I know where to go. All over the radio with you.
Hey, it's Eric G with Around the House. Are you looking to grow your business? Need a spokesperson for your company? Maybe an MC for an upcoming trade show? Or maybe you want to up your game and shoot some promotional videos? My team of experts would love to chat with you. Head to aroundthehouseonline.com and fill out the Contact Us form, and we'll set something up. Thanks for listening to Around the House.